Coming up on the Locked On Mariners podcast, the top 5 reasons to be optimistic about the Mariners in 2026. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors, and it's Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. This is Ty Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And as always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone, and on there we talk Mariners, Seahawks, all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/control the zone. Link in the description of this episode. It's Top 5 Tuesday. Today, I'll be giving you the top 5 reasons to be optimistic about the 2026 Mariners, and Colby will then tackle the top 5 home run props in baseball. Now, for my list, I didn't include anything about the offseason. So I'm just warning you now, because I refuse to with this ownership group. I refuse to be optimistic and have any sort of optimistic expectations and put those out there in the universe, because I did that last year with this very same list. I'm pretty sure I did the same list for Top 5 Tuesday last year. Yeah, we all know what happened from that point forward. So not making that same mistake again. All right. So let's kick things off here with number 5. Pretty obvious one: starting pitcher health and seasoning. So Mariners starting pitching wasn't healthy this year. We all know that. And it was across the board, except for Luis Castillo. It even got Brian Wu at the most important part of the year. Now, obviously, you know, when talking about pitcher health as a reason to be optimistic, it's a dangerous game to play. And that's why it's the first thing that I'm talking about on this list. Because you know, obviously the Mariners could easily run into similar or even greater issues next year. And frankly, if we're being honest, they were pretty lucky this year on that front. Like, yeah, they lost 4 of their 5 guys for an extended period of time, but they also didn't lose anyone for the entire year or anything like that. And they were able to finish the year relatively healthy. Like, all of those guys were available to some capacity in the playoffs. But yeah, you know, I think it's more than fair to say that, you know, they didn't have some of their guys, especially Logan Gilbert and Bryce Miller, at 100% for most of the ride. But there's a decent chance those guys will look closer to the pitchers we know and love next year. And I mean, we already kind of saw it with Bryce in the playoffs and how good he was, especially in the ALCS. And I think that leads to better numbers, particularly at home, which, I mean, like, they were still a top 5 pitching staff in a lot of categories at home this year. But the numbers did regress a bit from 2024. Like for example, they dropped about 70 points in FIP. So I do think maybe those numbers look a little bit closer to 2024, so long as these guys stay healthy. I think the other thing that shouldn't be overlooked here is that Brian Wu, you know, blew past his career high in innings this year. But now he's done it. He's gone about as far as most starting pitchers go in a season. And, you know, while you definitely want to still monitor him as we get into the late stages of the year, and, you know, as he starts to push maybe that, you know, 180, maybe even 200 inning threshold, the proverbial training wheels should be off for him at this point. And that kind of ties into the whole, the biggest reason I'm most optimistic about this group. The 4 homegrown guys are all seasoned at this point. They've all gone the distance. They've all pitched in big games. Now, the most important thing for them is to address their weak points, like the severe home road splits over the last 2 years. And what do we know about a lot of these guys? They're tinkerers. They're absolute nerds of the game, and they have a great supporting staff behind them to help them put, you know, the pieces together in order to address some of those things and counter how some teams have attacked them in the past. And, you know, in the end, I would just say that this is a mature group now. And I think there's a pretty good chance that becomes evident in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty safe assumption. Quinnen Williams is a Cowboy, by the way. It's a
Oh,
pretty
wow.
safe assumption that the rotation should be better. I mean, it is a super talented rotation that in which, well, all but one of them missed time on the IL. Well, I guess Wu technically wasn't added to the IL, but he would have been in any other circumstance. So, yeah, they all missed significant time except for Luis Castillo. Now, those questions still remain in terms of like how healthy are they? Like Bryce Miller's not getting the surgery. There is no, as far as we know, there is no planned surgery for Logan Gilbert, who dealt with elbow issues as well. Obviously, George had his shoulder thing. And Brian Wu, while it's easy to be like, just a little pec thing, and whatever, bad timing, which is mostly right. He does have a long history of injuries in his career and his development as a big leaguer and in college as well. So there's always going to be some concern about Wu. There's concern with every pitcher, but the best indication that a pitcher is going to get hurt is if they get hurt the first time. So it is a little worrisome going into next year, but I think with just even decent injury luck, the Mariners rotation should. And, said they have a whole offseason now to go out and tinker, and certainly there are things that everybody can get better at and areas where they can improve, and they know that now. And yeah, I think it's a pretty safe assumption that the rotation should be better than it was in 2025.
So coming in at number 4 here for me, some of Cal Raleigh's production this year should be sustainable. Now, he's not going to hit 65 bombs again. It's very possible he doesn't even hit 40 bombs in 2026. But I do think some of the things we saw from Cal at the plate this year will translate to future seasons. On top of the slugging, we saw significant upticks in on base, average, and walks from him. And I think the tangible changes he made in his setup before the season will help lead to similar results. Plus, it also helps that he now has a reputation, and teams are probably going to pitch to him more conservatively, at least to start the year, and then they'll adapt based on how he reacts to that, of course. So while I think the home runs will go down substantially, I don't think we'll see too drastic of a difference in his walk rate, for example, and his batting average. I think those things are here to stay. And with that, depending on how many he does put over the wall, he's probably still a top 10, maybe even top 5 MVP finisher in 2026.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure at some point we'll spin the wheel and I'll end up with reasons for pessimism because the wheel has a sense of humor. And
That's
Cal
right.
Raleigh will be on that list because he's not hitting 65 home runs again. It's not going to happen ever again. The question is, how many can he hit? Like, how much of this is repeatable? And if it's 40 home runs, then he keeps some of the batting average and the on-base skills, then you're fine. Like, you're more than fine with that. But, I mean, heck, even if he goes back all the way back to 2024 Cal, you're still more than fine at the position and all that. So it's just, so much of this team's offense relied on Cal being out of his mind. They need to deepen the lineup and all that. But yeah, Cal should be, I mean, even Cal's floor is still probably a 4 or 5 win catcher, which is insane. But yeah, the ceiling, if you think some of this is repeatable, then 6-7 win catcher is a heck of a starting point. It's just highly unlikely he'll ever be a 9 win catcher again. That's probably asking way too much. But also, it's worth noting that his defense wasn't as good this year. So if he drops some homers, but he gains some defense back, that would also be, a very valuable player. And so, yeah, Cal's such a high floor guy just because of the defense and the home runs. But, is he going to repeat what he did this year? No. Should he still be really good? Yeah.
All right. We will go over my top 3 reasons to be optimistic about the Mariners in 2026 in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is once again brought to you by Gametime. NFL season is back, and there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team. But let's be honest, Getting tickets can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Gametime, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. It's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I bought tickets. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, download Gametime today. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. It's Top 5 Tuesday. I'm giving you the top 5 reasons to be optimistic for the Mariners in 2026. We just went over numbers 5 and 4. Now let's get into the top 3. Coming in at number 3 for me, this is going to be a big year for high-profile prospects in the Mariners organization. Now, obviously, some of these guys could get traded before we get to opening day. But looking at our top 10 prospects from the last rankings we did in the summer, Colby, there are 3 guys I feel pretty confident we'll see at some point next year: Cole Emerson, Cade Anderson, and Michael Arroyo. Again, assuming that they're in the organization. And a couple others like Lazaro Montes and Durangelo Senja, I think, have a shot of making their debut in 2026. I think Senja has a far larger shot than Laz does, but I just kind of group those guys together. And obviously, don't forget about Cole Young and Harry Ford and Ben Williamson. Like, what could you get out of those guys next year as well? Over the next couple of years, we're probably going to see some of the guys that have been part of this current group's core leave. But it's very possible some of the names that I just listed take their place. And while you can't assume that any of these guys are going to come up and immediately contribute, it's obviously going to be very exciting when we get the news that like Cole Emerson's getting the call and all that. So that's one of the things I'm most excited about for next year.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. The Mariners player development is also top notch. So you do feel better about these guys performing. It might take them a year or two to really, find their footing at the big league level. That's common. That's nothing to be that worried about. It's also something to keep in mind, though, is that like you shouldn't just bet on these guys coming up and being good right away. Like Cole Young had his moments, but overall he was not a very good major leaguer this year. I mean, it's just one of those things. You can't expect Colt Emerson to come up and just be a 4-win shortstop right away, right? So, but you do feel confident these guys will eventually be good major leaguers because the Mariners player development system is one of the best in the game, and these guys are all highly talented, and a lot of them have first round pick pedigree and all that. So they have a lot of good raw tools to work with in the Mariners. That proven to be one of the better teams with the player development side of things. So we should see the fruits of all that hard work. And Jerry talked about the waves of prospects. Well, it was pretty dry for a couple of years. Even this last year, it was really, Cole Young, who again was okay. He had his moments, but it wasn't all that great. Ben Williamson a little bit. But yeah, like you said, next year there's potential to have 3 of the top 10. And that's, again, not counting the 2 that already made their major league debut last year. So yeah, there's a lot of young talent on the horizon. It's no longer hypothetical. It's no longer in high A and we have to wait, 2 or 3 years to get there. It's time. And in 2026 and 2027, we're going to see a lot of young, talented players make their major league debuts. And maybe it's not with the Mariners, but it's going to help the Mariners get players who will help the Mariners win in 2026. So yeah, lots to be excited about down on the farm and on the player development side of things too.
Absolutely. So coming in at number 2, I just wrote down Julio, period. It's kind of crazy to think that Julio's been here for so long and he's still not even to the age that we consider to be a player's prime years. Right. Mm-hmm. But this is going to be year 5 for Julio. He'll be 25. And while we're all expecting Cal to regress some, like we talked about earlier, maybe it's not too noticeable because this is the year Julio becomes a legit MVP candidate. And I think we saw maybe a preview of that over the last couple months. He was incredible in the second half. He took over games. He showed up in the playoffs. And now he also kind of has a major chip on his shoulder. Like, we all heard him screaming after game 7 when Brian Wu was getting interviewed. He was dominating the start of that game, but then he wound up, obviously creating the final out, swinging at ball 4 with Cal on deck, blah, 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 blah. The memory of that is going to be burned in his brain all off season long. And I'm kind of excited to see what Julio Rodriguez with that extra little bit of motivation looks like in 2026.
Yeah. Came through in a lot of big moments as well in the playoffs. So there's all that. And Gold Glove finalist, didn't win it, didn't deserve to win it. I know it's a controversial statement, but whatever.
Rafaela was very good this year.
Yes. They picked the right guy to win that award. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. Yeah. And Julio obviously was, significantly more consistent this year than he was in 2024. And like you said, he's not even at the age we would consider guys in their prime. Like, Julio is a Hall of Famer. Like, that's the track he's on right now, which means he's one of the, upper 1% of all players who have ever played Major League Baseball. And people tend to lose sight of that. But I do think that we are entering a time period where it is acceptable to look at Julio and be like, it's go time. Like, it is time. And it is, for the 40 home runs, it's time for the 30 stolen bases and the Gold Glove defense, and for the average to, jump up a little bit and the on base to jump up a little bit. Like, I think it's fair to expect that. And I think it's fair to, have some reasonable optimism that he can get there this year in 2026. And again, it's kind of like Cal. Even if he doesn't quite reach the ceiling, the floor is so good because he's so good at so many things.
And we saw the floor in 2024, and that was a 4-win player.
Right. So yeah, Julio, again, I think he had a very, very good year. Probably going to get some, probably finish top 10 in MVP voting. He should. So, and then obviously, again, the big moments in the postseason, had some bad at bats. Everybody always remembers Julio's bad at bats. They tend to forget the great ones that he had. The fact that game 7 was even, a game is because of Julio himself. And so, yeah, it's just one of those things where, like, people hyper fixate on Julio and everything he doesn't do well because the expectations are so high, but he's a really good baseball player. And he showed you again in 2025.
Again, he hasn't even hit his prime years yet, or what we consider to be a player's prime years. And he's already worth
3 years. It's still like 3 years off too.
he's already worth 21, or already been worth 21.2 F4.
I think the Mariners posted about this yesterday, and it's like the second highest F4 in their first 4 seasons, only behind Mike Trout.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. It really is. Julio is somehow criminally underrated, even amongst Mariner fans. It's nuts.
Yeah. Honestly, I think he is the most underrated by his own fan base. All right. So coming in at number 1 here, the World Series is the last box left unchecked. And I think this is important for a young club that has been chasing so much since they all came together a few years ago. First it was ending the drought. Then it was hunting down the Rangers and the Astros, and that took way longer than we all thought. Then they finally break through and they win their first division in 24 years. Then they kind of stumble against an inferior Tigers team, but still manage to get by them to go to their first ALCS in 24 years. But it felt like there was an enormous amount of pressure with every milestone they reached because of how rare those feats have been for this organization. And now it feels like that should go away a bit. Obviously, those are things you still have to accomplish in order to get to where you want to go, but they shouldn't feel as big as they have in the past, specifically for this organization. Now we can strictly look at those things as stepping stones towards the ultimate goal. And maybe this applies more to us as fans than the players. Maybe the players looked at all of those things as stepping stones this year. But I do think there is a confidence that has been earned because you've done it now. You've gotten a taste of it. And now you're more like every other club where the next step is just making and winning the World Series.
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of momentum being built in the organization, and I think that's a good reason for optimism. But the counterpoint there is that momentum is only as good as ownership allows it to be. And yeah, but yeah, Julio obviously gets a taste of it. Cal gets a taste of it. Everybody in the core is right there, and they know how close they are, and yet how far away they are too. So it should be an incredibly motivating thing for them. It should be motivating for the front office, and it should be motivating for ownership. I'm not overly confident it is, but we'll see, and who knows? And it's like they've already said, like, oh, we're going at least up to where we ended last year. And it's like,
Yeah.
take away Josh Naylor and his contract. It's not a whole lot left to add, but whatever. We'll see how it goes. But I do think, hopefully lessons have been learned by those who are most in the way of this team getting to where they want. That's the front office and the ownership group, and the players have never been closer and probably never felt further away at the same time. And that's a good place for them to be as they enter this offseason, needing their rest and their recuperation, but also needing to put the work in and get back to where they want to go and get to a place no team in this franchise has ever been to. And they're incredibly well positioned to do that if they hit the offseason well.
All right, so we're going to switch gears here. It's Colby's turn for his top 5 list of the week. Top 5 home run props in baseball. We'll go over that in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season. Whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both, there's no better time to jump in on the action. And if you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the PrizePicks app today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. So my portion of Top 5 Tuesday is officially over. Now it's Colby's time to shine. Top 5 home run props in baseball. What does that mean, Colby?
Home run props are just, you hit a home run, you get handed this or put this on, blah, blah, blah. We see it. It's kind of been in vogue recently, although I must say a lot of teams change theirs from year to year.
Yeah.
And it's kind of tough to find a comprehensive list of 2025. So I decided to expand it to like all home run props that I've ever seen. These are Major League Baseball only. College used to have some great ones. Unfortunately, they sapped all the fun out of that too. But so these are only Major League Baseball home run props, and they are not all from 2025. Keep that in mind. And I came up with 6 because I think we all know what number 1 is.
Yeah.
Anyways. So yeah.
For the people that are just listening to the podcast, though, it's the trident. He's pointing at the trident. There you go. We don't
close to the camera.
We don't want to exclude our audio only listeners, of course.
Sure. By the way, you can get that foam trident, which looks pretty good. You can get that for like $45 on Amazon. So there you go. Not sponsored. Coming in at number 6 here, the Mariners make the list twice.
Ooh,
the Swellmet.
The Swellmet.
Yes. Which I can't confirm this, but just based on the timeline, I believe was the original MLB home run prop. They started using that thing in 2018.
Huh.
So yes. Now there were 2 versions. There were the Swellmet, and then I forgot what they called the other one. I called it the bomb bucket because it had a bomb on the side of it. But
didn't they just call it a bomb-it or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Now this is the very early stages, 2018. I can't remember if anybody was doing home run props that early, but I believe it might be the OG home run prop in Major League Baseball. I'm sure there's some historian out there who will dig up something else, but anyways, so the Swellmet gets number 6. Just Darth Vader helmet painted blue, like really nothing that special, but it was first try. So you got to give him credit for that.
And wasn't it like a fan showed up just wearing it and they were like, we want that?
It's the, I'm pretty sure it was the guy.
Was it a Manny Acta? It was like,
Manny
I want
Acta,
that.
Give me that. And like he traded like an autograph bat for it or something like that.
Yeah.
I believe it is the gentleman who goes to the road games wearing the Mariner suit. I believe he was the one who first donned the Swellmet. I could be wrong though. So if you know who, or you know the lore of the Swellmet, let us know down in the comments down below. All right, so coming in at number 5, unfortunately, they don't do this anymore. In fact, as far as I could tell, only one of these celebrations still happens in 2025. But again, I don't watch every game, so I don't know exactly what's going on. And there is no comprehensive list. There are a lot of comprehensive lists from 2023, ironically, but not 24 or 25. But anyways, coming in at number 5, I have the Twins fishing vest, the Land of 10,000 Rakes vest.
Nice.
Yes. So it's one of the originals. They also used to have a little like fishing pole with it. And you could throw it out there and fish a little bit in the dugout. I think it's cool. It was kind of bedazzled in the back though, so not that cool, but I think it's pretty unique. I think it speaks to the region or the city that your baseball team plays in, and I think that's important for this type of thing. So fishing vest, pretty cool. A lot of these are lame, by the way. I went back and I looked. A lot of these are pretty lame.
What about remember Carlos Santana's salami that he would just like throw at people?
Yeah. Do you remember
when he was with Minnesota?
The Red Sox used to have like these inflatable dumbbells that they'd walk up and down the dugout with. It just
I don't remember that one actually.
A lot of really stupid ones, guys.
That's dumb though. Yeah.
Yes, like there's a fine line between corny and kind of cool, and you have to walk it because a lot of the props that I found definitely went into the corny category. But I like the fishing vest. I think it works well with Minnesota and all that. So they come in at number 5. Number 4. I think this was back in 2023, so it's been a couple of years. But the Pittsburgh Pirates used to have like an actual swashbuckler sword that they would swing around. Now I'm pretty sure it was plastic. I don't think they're going to allow a real sword to be swung around in the dugout. But again,
I mean, the trident is a real weapon.
Yeah, it's metal. Yeah, it can do some damage. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Pirates obviously very simple, but very I mean, it's almost so obvious, yet they didn't do it this year. I feel like they could go bigger with the sword, like they could really make that their own. But the one I saw, pretty good, pretty funny. Again, fits well with the team and the vibe and all that. So I think that one's pretty solid as well. I think it could be bigger. I think they should bring it back. It does feel like an eye patch would be like a bit too cumbersome to put on. So maybe you can't go full pirate, but I do like the commitment to the bit. So it comes in at number 4. Number 3 for me, the Nationals used to put a powdered wig on your head after you hit the home run, which it's DC. Good. It's a powdered wig for the founding fathers and all that stuff.
I don't think I've seen that, by the way.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years since they've done it, which is sad. But like the Mariners really are the only team that commits to this type of thing, and it's awesome. But
them and the Blue Jays have had the home run jacket for years, so
that's stupid.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but like that's cool. That's the only one that I can think of that's like been around for
been repeated. Yeah,
a long time. Yeah,
like it, and that's really the only one that stands out along with the Trident this year in my head. So I mean, like something's working with it. I think it's stupid, but something's working. So keep it. Why not? I'm sure they'll bring it back. But yeah, the powdered wigs for the Washington Nationals. DC, the founding fathers, they have the whole founding fathers or Mount Rushmore like races, like the Mariners have the salmon run and all that. And so, I think it's really well tied into the team and the lore and the history of the region and all that. So I think it's hilarious. So big credit to the Nationals for coming up with the powdered wig. They should bring it back. They're not going to do better.
Yeah, no.
Coming in at number 2, we have the Homer hose. Which belongs to the Baltimore Orioles, which was inspired by, let's say, party paraphernalia that you might find at a college campus. I don't know how much that really fits in with the Baltimore or the Orioles, like theme, but it's just funny and it's pretty cool. So
It feels like something that the Phillies should have instead of the Orioles.
Yeah, it does. Chicago, they only had it for 1 year, unfortunately, but yeah, it was called the Homer Hose, and it's pretty funny. And I enjoy the whimsy and the funny nature of it more than I enjoy the connection to the city and all that. And yeah, number one is it's the Trident. It's definitely the Trident.
JP Crawford's made a lot of great contributions to this club. Him spending the $300 or whatever it was on Amazon to get the Trident on a random whatever it was night might be the best. Like, it is by far the sickest home run prop, home run celebration in all of baseball.
Yeah, it is hopefully here to stay for quite a while. We've wondered, like, are they going to ever ditch the dance at the end? Like,
yeah,
it's now been what, 2.5 seasons, three and a half seasons?
Yeah.
22, 23, 24, and 25.
Yeah.
Does that go with JP when he goes? I don't know. So there are a lot of, traditions that are fun for a minute or two, and then they kind of fade away, and then you have to make room for new traditions. It's an ever evolving clubhouse and all that. So, but I do hope the Trident is one that's kind of here to stay.
Yeah, I think it will stay. I think it's more of a thing, especially the dance. I think that's more of a thing that just kind of gets passed down.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I think it's cool when teams have like traditions, and it's one of the cool things about like college football. Right, is that there's these weird trophies, and there's this, just love affair with the history of the rivalries, and teams do certain things when they win and when they turnovers and all. I think those things are cool, and I think they're pretty unique to sports in that way. And so I do hope the Mariners carry over a lot of the things from this era. And, also it's a good way to, pay homage, another callback, to the teams of the past and to different eras. And I feel like sometimes, even when those eras aren't great, people have a tendency to really short shrift them. For example, the 1980s Mariners, which is why they're woefully underrepresented when we talk about this team's history. So, I do hope the dance stays, and I do hope the Trident and all that sticks around for a while. But there you go. Top 5 home run props. Was there ever a doubt what number 1 was going to be?
Well, that is going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez, Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.